heard of numbers like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and many others. So these numbers, these are called whole numbers. Whole numbers. And from this, numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, and many others are called positive integers. Positive integers. Or you can call them counting numbers. Then, you have also heard of numbers which are smaller than 0. -1 or -1, then 2, -3. Now, these numbers which are smaller than 0 are called negative integers. Negative integers. Now, so in this, we can summarize and say that we have got positive integers and negative integers. But don't forget that 0 is also an integer. Now, if we show this on a number line, let's have this shown on a number line. Number line. Okay, we will clearly see how these integers are. Okay, so you have a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and many others are going. Now this side you have -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, and many others are going that side. Now, you see that at this point we have 0. Then this side we have positives, positive integers. Then this side we have negative integers. Okay, so now the other thing that you need to know very well is that numbers to the right of 0 are positive integers. Positive integers. So in other words, I mean these numbers to the right of 0. Now, numbers to the left of 0 are negative integers. These are the numbers that I'm talking about. Okay, so we can summarize this and know that when we talk about integers, number 1, we will have positive integers, and number 2, we will have a 0, and number 3, we have negative integers. We can have some examples of positive integers like 1, 2, 3, and many others. 0, of course, it is a 0. And negative integers like negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, and many others. Okay. Now, one more important thing that we have to know is that on a number line, if we have like 1, 2, 3, then we have negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. Note that as you go to the right, numbers become bigger. And as you go to the left, numbers become smaller. So if we can compare these numbers, for example, if we have 0 and then 1, we understand that 0 is less than 1. Or in other words, we can say that 1 is greater than 0. 1 is greater than 0. Now, if we look at to the side of negatives, if we have 0 and then we have got negative 1, note that 0 is bigger, or in other words, negative 1 is less than 0. In this case, 0 is big, negative 1 is small. Let's have a couple of numbers. Let's say we have 1 and 2, we have 3 and 0, we have 3 and negative 1, we have negative 1 and 0, we have 0, negative 2, maybe negative 3 and negative 2, negative 1 and negative 10. Let's try to see what this implies. When you look at a number line, you see that this is 1 and this is 1 and this is 2. And we said that as you go to the left, numbers continue to become smaller, and as you go to the right, numbers become bigger. So if you have 1 and 2, we know that 1 is small, okay? And if we have 3 and 0, we know that 3 is big. 3 and negative 1, 3 is big. Negative 1 and 0, negative 1 is small. 0 and negative 2, 0 is big. Negative 3 and negative 2, negative 3 is small. Negative 1 and negative 10, negative 1 is big. So, I hope this is clearly understood. Now, the other thing that I feel you should know is about the absolute value. Absolute value means the distance of a number from 0. So look at this. This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And maybe this is -1, -2, -3, and -4. Now if I say, what is the absolute value of 4? The absolute value of 4 will be 4. In other words, we are looking at the space that is between 0 and 4. That will be 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the absolute value of 4 is 4. And still, if we say we need to know the absolute value of -4, we need to know the distance from 0 to -4. So it means that we have 1, 2, 3, 4. It will still be 4. So this means that the absolute value of -1 is 1. And the absolute value of 1 is still 1. The absolute value of -100 is 100. And the absolute value of 100 still it is 100. But then if we change a bit and we say, what about if I have negative, then the absolute value of 10? Already I have a negative, this means that this is negative, and the absolute value of -10 is 10, so I'll have -10. If I have the absolute value, negative absolute value of 10, I will still have -10. Should know is the opposite numbers. So on the number line, if we have this as 0, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we have -1, -2, -3, and -4. Now someone can ask you, what is the opposite number of 2? Now let's take a look at the distance from 0, to 2. We have got 2 units. Now what about if we go to the left? Where will we be if we move 2 units? This is 1 and 2. At 2 units, we are standing at -2. Now, we say that -2 is the opposite number of 2. So, the opposite number of 2 is -2. If we look at, let's say, 4, -4. Look at the distance from -4 to 0. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 units. And let's move 4 units to the right of 0. 1, 2, 3, 4. We see that also we are stopping at 4. Now this means that the opposite number of 4 is -4. Now this means that if you are talking about opposite numbers, opposite numbers, if I say, what is the opposite number? Opposite number of -1, it will be 1. -2, it will be 2. -100, its opposite will be 100. -1200, its opposite will be 1200. Similarly, the opposite of 1 is -1. The opposite of 2 is -2. The opposite of 100 is -100. And the opposite of 1200 is -1200, and so on.